All right, thank you everybody for a very nice transition there. I also want to say thanks to our timekeeper, great job on that. So candidates place 2, we have our timekeeper over here, that is Anika, that's who you want to be paying attention to. And basically just to review very quickly, in case you have not heard or been told, everybody will have opening statements of 1 minute. Your timekeeper, in all cases, will do a half, and half. So on the 1 minute questions, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, and stop. Your closing statements will be 2 minutes. Once again, you'll get notice at 1 minute, 30 seconds, 15 seconds. You will have 2 challenges that you can use. These will be that you can challenge your opponent, one of your opponents, on something that they said. You will have 30 seconds to challenge and ask a question. Whichever opponent you address that to, I got to get used to 3 candidates up here, not 2. Whoever you address that challenge to, they will then have 30 seconds to respond as well. All the other responses will be 1 minute.
Use it or lose it situation. So.
And not in the opening statement or the closing statement. So in the regular questions go along, you'll have up to 2 chances to ask an opponent a challenge or to challenge them on something. Any questions on those? All right, ladies and gentlemen, in order of the ballot, here are your candidates for place 2, Marvin Lope, Natalie Hebert, who is your incumbent, and Kelly Karthik, and going from there. So we're going to go right into opening statements. The way we do this is a very complicated process where we draw names. And then we will go in as much of a reverse order as we can on closing statements. So leading us off on a 1 minute opening statement will be
Natalie Hebert.
There you go.
Okay, there we go. Thank y'all for being here, first of all. Thank you, Chamber of Commerce. My name is Natalie Hebert, and I have been a resident of the Frisco ISD community for the past 18 years with my awesome husband, Joshua Hebert, and our 2 kids, Cole and Claire. We have a senior and a sophomore, both at Liberty High School. Cole's headed to OU next year, and he is beyond prepared. Thank you to all of the amazing teachers and staff here in Frisco. Frisco ISD is a destination district. We are recognized across the state for excellence, no matter your child's ambitions, whether they're an athlete, an artist, a doctor, an entrepreneur, an academic scholar, or a skilled technician. Frisco ISD can help all of our kids achieve success. Even our special needs kids, whenever they leave with the ability to go out into the workforce and be as successful as possible. We outperform the region, the state, and every other comparable district, despite the pandemic. People who do their homework move to Frisco.
Next.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have Kelly Karthik.
Okay, I'm testing the mic. Yes, it does work. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kelly Karthik, and I just wanted to take a moment and thank the Frisco Chamber of Commerce and the Frisco ISD Council of PTAs and Grace Church for hosting this candidate forum this evening. I've been married for 18 years to my husband, VJ, who's there in the back, and we moved to Frisco in 2015. We have twin 16-year-old boys that attend Reedy High School. I'm the president and chief people and growth officer at a technology consulting company, and I specialize as a culture coach in the tech sector. My 3 main campaign platform points are teachers, technology, and transparency. You'll hear more about that shortly. And encompassing these 3 points, my greatest passion of all is equity, diversity, and inclusion. Thank you.
I bet I know who's going next.
All right, Mr. Lowe, you get 1 minute for your opening statement.
I didn't see you draw for my name. Oh, okay.
Told you it was complicated.
On this very scientific, ripped-up paper. We've got
I understand. Hey, my name is Marvin Lope. I'm a Frisco resident. I've been here since 2007. I've been in Texas since '97. I'm from California originally. Don't hold that against me. I got here as soon as I could. I'm the proud father. I have 4 kids, 17, 13, 12, and 10. And one of the reasons I got involved in this race is because we came here for the school district, and we still have a good school district, but I believe it's on the wrong trajectory, and I'm running to get it back to where we once were. To be better, more than window dressing, but to be a real excellent school district in what we do and how we teach and how we listen to our parents.
Good. All right. Well, let's kick things open, and we'll just follow up just by chance. Trust and communication seems to be an ongoing issue that's involved in a lot of the discussion in this year's races. We'll start with Ms. Aber, go to Ms. Karthik, and then back to Ms. Lowe. What would you address in terms of trust and communication? Are there any specific issues that you can address that illustrate that point or that counter that point, that is an issue in our district at this point in time?
I think that we are a work in progress whenever it comes to communication. We've started the efforts with our long-range planning committee, our priorities-based budget committee, and our community input night. We're not perfect yet, but we are working towards that. And we know that there will always be areas of improvement, and I do believe that communication is one of them. But as we have gone through the past few years, there have been a lot of things on the school district's plate to maintain our successes, and we try to communicate as well as possible, but we are working on getting better.
Thank you. Ms. Carter.
So with trust and communication, I feel like that falls under transparency, which seems to be an issue with the school board. And I think the biggest frustration I hear from a lot of parents is trying to we have unanswered emails, unanswered phone calls, attempts for meetings sometimes aren't recognized. It feels like the door's closing a little bit at school board meetings now that we've removed the non-agenda items and we've shifted them to a community input night. And this is something I'm very concerned about. I feel like we should rethink about what we're doing right there. So again, trust and communication fall under transparency, and I think one of the things when you're a trustee is you need to listen to your community members and what they are thinking and feeling and concerned about. It's really important to me. Thank you.
And Mr. Lowe.
Yeah, when we talk about trust and transparency, that's one of the communication. That's one of the reasons I'm here. I didn't plan on running 7 months ago. I had no idea I'd be here. But I contacted our school board to find out what they thought about critical race theory, and I couldn't get a straight answer from any of them. I was just wondering, what are your personal thoughts? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? And I asked those specific questions, and I couldn't get an answer. And that's one of the things that led me to run. But after I got into it, I just started seeing that the district or some of the members on the board seem to do what they want to do. They seem to be the smartest people on the block, and they figure out what they're going to do, and then they tell us what they do rather than talking to the parents and figuring out, collaborating with us and figuring out what direction we're going to go on many of these controversial issues.
And we have our first challenge of the night. So you may challenge 30 seconds to ask a question, and I'm presuming you're challenging Mr. Lowe?
Mr. Lowe, yes.
Yes.
You emailed me on October 6th of 2021 with a very specific question and said that you were a voter, and that was one of your main issues with voting. And I gave you a very specific response a few hours later.
What was that response?
What was that response, Mr.
I'm
Lowe?
asking you. You should know. You're telling me.
My response to him was that I do not believe in uplifting any specific group of any
But that wasn't
race.
my question.
The question was about CRT.
The question was, what do you think about CRT?
I think that it is not taught within the K-12 classroom, period.
You have a couple of seconds left. Go on.
This is one of the pat answers that we get from so many people in the district. Just for the record, CRT is a college course that is taught in college. It's not taught in our school district. What I am talking about is, what do you think about it? Because our education, our curriculum is being influenced by CRT. And so because of that, I wanted to know what our board was thinking so I know how to vote.
All right. Thank you. Remember, 30 seconds on the challenge. I love the enthusiasm, but let's kind of keep it in order here. I'm going to let you pull us back into order now.
Yeah, those have been hard. We didn't do well on the first one either. So the spirit behind them is that instead of debate style, it should be a 30-second challenge and then a 30-second response, some sort of question involved, just to keep it together. Okay, so let's take it to the last couple of years and the challenges, many of them, that our teachers have faced in the school district. What are your thoughts on how the board can help ensure that teachers do not get burned out and that we can retain them and keep good tenure in our school district?
And if anybody in particular you want to start off?
Yes, let's actually go from right to left. Ms. Karthik.
Regarding the teachers, that is my number one concern. I have a whole list of ideas of what we can do to help them out. I think the big thing is the communication is not there. I would love to open up some kind of portal where they can submit anonymous and confidential feedback on what the real issues are, and also their expertise on how to better solve those issues. Some of the things we all know about are smaller classrooms, possibly an aid, better funded classrooms. Some of the ideas I'm hearing about are, how about tuition reimbursement? What about more days off for bereavement? There's a whole list of things we can do to make their lives a little better, and I would really like to hear, though, from them directly and what they think the solutions are so we can make them happier. Thank you.
Sabra?
Number one is partisan politics. We've got to get partisan politics out of the classroom. 100%. Educators are exhausted. They are being slammed with legislation from the federal level and from the state level. We have to find a way to make sure that we can ease up their plate, lighten the load for them, and still maintain the excellence that we have here in Frisco. But a lot of it comes from legislation, and it's trying to maintain all of the things that come with it, such as we put dyslexia and special education together. That was unexpected for our staff, and it's a stressor, but they took it as a gift, and they're running with it. Yet it's just one more thing that they're doing on top of COVID, on top of COVID relief, on top of closing the gaps. We've got to help them, not necessarily with money, but by creating a culture of respect and showing them that we truly care about them, not by just using words, but by actions.
Mr. Lowe.
Yeah, when you look at the fact that we lost 1,600 teachers over the last 3 years, we have to look at it and say we're doing something wrong. We can't just say, everything's okay here, we're all doing okay, nothing to see here. There is a problem. And the problem is the federal, the state, and the local burden that we're putting on them. What we would do is we would take it off, but our board has accepted ESSER funds, for instance. And with those funds comes different mandates, different assessments, and different things that they have to do in order to comply with getting those ESSER funds. And I just believe that we need to look at things like that when they're already overburdened. Why add something else? We need to make it easier on our teachers. Our teachers didn't get in teaching to do paperwork. They got in teaching to teach our kids. Our teachers love our kids, and they're passionate about what they do. But when we load all of these extra burdens on them, and we don't have a board that seems like they understand that they need to take these burdens off of the teachers, we get where we are right now.
Good. And I'd like to, and when we do follow-up questions, I keep the scores so everybody will have the same number. Ms. Karthik, I'd like to follow up on something you mentioned. A lot of the options that you were proposing to help teachers, a lot of those cost money, personnel and other deals. Given the fact, if you agree that the school district is running a good fiscal budget at this point in time, what would you cut, or how do you have any ideas about how to fund those additional dollars that would be needed?
I think there's a lot of ideas that don't cost anything. I mean, for example, our teachers work long days, and there's a heavy pressure on them to sponsor after-school clubs that are created. One solution would be, how about we start vetting and do background checks on some of our expert parents out here in the community and let them start sponsoring some of these clubs. There's a lot of kids out there that are feeling the frustration of the clubs not being there, that they want to be there and can't find a teacher that has the energy or the time to sponsor. So that would be a really good example of something we can do that doesn't cost 1 cent, and we're taking some of the pressure and strain off of these teachers. Like he said, we don't need to add one more thing to their plate, and this is one way we can help them. Let's utilize our parents to make these clubs happen for our children.
Good. Ms. Aber, I'd like to follow up with specific. You mentioned you're a big supporter of the community-based accountability system. Could you give a little discussion on where that is in terms of obstacles in implementing, and why are you such a strong proponent of that?
Our first major obstacle of implementing CBAS, or community-based accountability system, was COVID. So right in the middle of beginning to implement that, we got hit with the pandemic. We're back and have it up and running, but I'm a big proponent of it because it allows each individual campus to come up with their own individual goals for the year. And those goals are, they're fluid. And so as they meet what they need, they continue on to the next one. Instead of having a goal across the state, which is what most people do, they take those and then take them and use them across the district. We have 73 campuses. They're not all the same. We don't expect them to all be the same, so they all come with different needs. Parents have input, teachers have input, students have input. It is the community of each individual school coming up with those goals, and it is taking what that school needs and making it happen.
And Mr. Lowe, you've been quoted as saying you're a big proponent of using technology earlier in the K through 12. Can you describe some specific areas that you would implement more technology, and why has that not been implemented to date, if you have an idea?
I never said that. I don't know where that came from.
All right. My apologies on that.
Oh, no problem.
Let me see.
Actually, I think that's something that I said, just to clear the record.
All right. Let's just discuss a little bit more. You had mentioned, or has been mentioned, the policy disallowing non-agenda items. Would you like to expand on that a little bit more?
Yeah. The board has an important job, and I was at a forum, earlier forum, with my opponent, and we were all asked, who do you represent? Do you represent the district, or do you represent the voters, the community? And my opponent couldn't answer that question. I doubt if she could answer it right now because she believes that she doesn't know who she represents. Well, when I'm on the board, I represent the voters. The voters put me in office will put me in office to manage what the board is, what the district is doing. And it's very clear. Right now, we have a community that doesn't feel like they're being heard. Their voices are not heard. Yesterday, we had they had a board meeting, and nobody got to voice their opinion on a very controversial issue that's happening at this time. And when the community doesn't feel like they have a voice in what we're doing, it messes up things, what we're doing. Thank you.
So school finance and accountability standards have long been hot topics in school board elections and public education. What are your views on local control versus state control on these issues, and some specific areas that you would like to see changed? Mr. Lowe.
Boy, that's a good question. I'm all about local. I think that we have a great community that we live in. I think we're able to make our own decisions about how our schools should be run. We are different than New York. We're different than Houston. We're different than Dallas. So I think we should run our district based on our own standards. We shouldn't get cues from TASB or NASB. They do things different than we do here in Texas. I think the closer we stick to local politics, local policies, and address the needs that are in our local community, I think we will better serve the citizens of our community.
Ms. Hebert?
First of all, I could answer the question at the forum. It was a raise your hand, and I said I represent the students, the community, and the school district. But regarding the question as far as finance, I love the legislative action items that the Chamber of Commerce has. That includes pushing to make sure that we can get HB3 fully funded. We also need to push for getting our IDEA fully funded because they're only funding it at 15%, and there was a promise from the federal government that it would be at 40%, and that is how we educate our special education students.
Thank you. Ms. Karthik?
Yes, I'm also a proponent of local control, and I'm also a supporter of HD3. I don't have a long, elaborate answer for this particular question. That's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Hebert, among many endorsements that all three of you may have, the Dallas Morning News did endorse you in this particular place. How would you describe this to the voters as to why you believe Dallas Morning News endorsed you? And then I'll send a follow-up to the other two candidates as well. I
think part of it is I've been in education for over 20 years. I'm a teacher. I bring my views from the classroom and my experience from the classroom to the boardroom, which is a unique quality. We have 2 educators on the board at this time. Thank you, Ms. Davis, for also being a part of our school board and being an educator with me. But I am the only teacher from Frisco ISD that's taught in this district. And I think it's pertinent that the information and the background knowledge and the voices of friends and family and people here in Frisco, I think that's important. I also think that I've done a good job of making sure that if there's a concern, I respond to the concern. I know that some friends up here have stated otherwise, but as soon as I got Mr. Lowe's email, there was a response. And Ms. Karthik, there were 1,000 emails that came through. There was a response from the school district. I communicate, and I'm a teacher.
Very good. Ms. Karthik, do you believe that the Dallas Morning News may have overlooked something, or how would you have responded to that endorsement?
Number one, I'm not sure about 1,000 emails. I've never sent 1,000 emails. And number two, as far as the Dallas Morning News is concerned, they actually printed a correction in their editorial section regarding a comment and they made about me, and they I've had several apology letters that they did not fact check, and they did not use my actual comments in their endorsement process. So I can't really say much about that, but I do feel vindicated that they did correct themselves. Thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. Mr. Lowe, same follow-up question for you.
Yeah, the 3 of us participated in a forum with the Dallas Morning News, and I'm going to tell you that's the first time I was really scared. I thought I did really well in that forum, and I thought they would endorse me. And then they endorsed my opponent, and I was so happy because you know something? We're Frisco. We're not Dallas. We do things different in Frisco than Dallas. How many people are here because of the Frisco ISD and not because of Dallas? And so the bottom line, I think they endorse the person who's going to best represent Dallas Independent School District.
All right, we are now to the point where you get the opportunity to ask one of your opponents a question. And the way this will work timing-wise is you have 30 seconds, goodness, we would never make it. 30 seconds for your question, and your opponent will get 1 minute for the response. So, Mr. Lowe, we'll start here and go in reverse.
No
one
problem.
Of your opponents.
Okay. This is to Natalie. Surprise, surprise, huh? There's been a lot of discussion about the inappropriate material in schools. And it's not something that has just creeped up lately. It's something that has been there. We still have that problem where we're still finding books in schools that are inappropriate. What have you done to change these illicit books in our school? What have you done?
We discovered that the issue is with the publisher and the reviews. Our librarians get 15,000 books whenever they open up a school library. It is impossible for one human being to be able to read 15,000 books before they place them on the shelves. So they do rely on the publisher's review of those books. We have discovered that there is a specific publisher that has aged books at something that does not meet the standard of Frisco ISD. We have decided not to use that publisher any longer. We've also implemented plans to look at policy, and we have also created a plan. If you were at the board meeting last night, were you there?
Were you there?
I was not. I had a prior engagement.
No, something more important than the books in our schools, huh?
So this is my response. I'm sorry?
No, go on.
Okay, thank you. I lost my train of thought. So yes, we are hiring people. We have policy in place. I was on all of the subcommittees prior to that to make sure that things happened. As soon as I was made aware of the books on the shelf, I immediately contacted the people who could take care of it, and immediate action was taken. Immediate. So when somebody says that we did not take immediate action, they are not telling you the truth. Fact over fiction.
Okay, so no response.
We're going to move on to, yes.
So, Ms. Aber, you now get to ask a question. You have 30 seconds to state the question, 1 minute for the response.
Okay. because there are two opponents, it's not just you and me, Ms. Karthik. In the Dallas Morning News, you did state that when you were asked about whether you had ever been in a civil lawsuit, you are part of a civil lawsuit, a federal civil lawsuit against the school district. And you were asking to be a representative to oversee a $700 million budget in this school district. Yet on the Dallas Morning News, when that question was asked of you, you said no. Please explain.
Thank you. So I took that question very seriously. It asked me if I was ever involved if I'm currently involved or was ever involved in a civil lawsuit. And my understanding after talking to a couple of advisors was that a federal class action lawsuit was not the same as a civil lawsuit. I weighed that question heavily, and that was my understanding. They're trying to hide a class action federal lawsuit would be like trying to hide a cruise ship in plain sight when I'm running for school board. That makes zero sense. I answered that question to the best of my ability, and I was honest, and I was upfront, and it's nothing I'm trying to hide by any means. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Karthik, your turn. 30 seconds for the question, 1 minute for the response.
Sure, thank you. Let me turn this back on. Can you hear me now?
There you go. Got it.
Okay. My first question is for Natalie. Dr. Nikki Mouton was hired as our equity, diversity, and inclusion strategist back in November of 2020. And I would like to know, in the past 6 months, how often have you actually met with Dr. Mouton regarding planning and implementing programs that enhance the equity and diversity inclusion in all of our schools?
Well, I have sat in on several of the meetings with Dr. Mouton and the subcommittee meetings, and also she's presented to us at board workshops to help us better understand what the goals are and where we're going with the district. And we have had several opportunities to discuss how we are including all of the students within Frisco ISD, regardless of race, gender, political affiliation. We've met with her several times. There's not a definitive answer to that, so I don't know, a lot.
Very good. Thank you. We do ask the audience to keep your comments to yourselves. We're now going to be at closing statements, and we will go in reverse order. Mr. Lowe, you have 2 minutes now for your closing statements. We will then go to Ms. Karthik and Ms. Aver. Sir?
Yeah, thank you for hosting this forum. We live in a great city, and we have a great school district. But we have a school district that is veered a little bit off course. And it's not going to take a lot to correct it. It's going to take board members who's willing to stand up to the administration and represent the views of their citizens and to the district. The district oftentimes gets its cues from, again, TASB and NASB, groups that are just not local, groups that are out of state, and they get ideas from them to implement in our city. I believe we should keep the policy decisions to our community. I think we're bright enough to figure out what we need for our schools. The parents are smart enough to figure out what we need. We don't need to get our cues from outside of here, outside the district. I think we really need to improve teacher retention. One of the ways I propose to do this is, it's really not rocket science, it's lifting the administrative burden off of them, lifting it, figure out what we need to do that. I mean, we've been losing teachers for several years now. Why haven't we come up with a solution to do that? If it takes more money, pay our teachers better. If it takes lifting the burden, we want to do that. We need to have high standards across the board. One of the things we talked about, Natalie talked about, was the autonomy of all of these schools. Did you know that in testing, that all of our schools test different? In one school, you could take it, might be able to take a test one time. Another school, you take it multiple times. But all of the schools, all of the grades are all the same. It's not equity. It's not equitable. I just really hope that we'll look at who's running for the race. We'll see who really cares about the community, and we'll vote accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Karthik?
There we go. In closing, I would just like to say that I am a community organizer. I'm an advocate for children and families. I attend and speak at school board meetings, county commissioner court, city council meetings. I attend those as much as I can. But separately, and behind the scenes, I meet often with community and religious leaders to discuss the ways that we can bring our diverse community closer together. This ultimately benefits the education of our children when we are more united. Again, I mentioned in the beginning that my 3 main points are teachers, technology, and transparency. As your Board of Trustee, I look forward to becoming that liaison that I just spoke about that is building the bridge between the students and the families and the teachers and the staff with the FISD. My biggest strength is my ability to connect with other students and families from all different backgrounds. This is what I'm most passionate about. And I think that if I'm your Board of Trustees, I'm going to bring that extra diversity we need to the forefront and create better communication bridges across the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Ms. Aber.
First of all, I want to say thank you to all of our staff and our teachers, because although there are fictional ideas that we're a district in decline, we are not. Of 16,000 kids nationwide, 109 of those kids are from Frisco ISD. We have a 99.4% graduation rate. That's pretty amazing, especially during the time of a pandemic. Our staff, our teachers, work relentlessly to make sure that, from my opening statement, we are that district that is recognized across the state for excellence, whether it be academics, whether it be fine arts, whether it be Special Olympics. Anything our kids do, we do well. When there's something that needs to be improved upon, we make sure it happens. We know that there's areas of improvement, but we make it happen. I would like for us to continue to invest in our high-quality programs and our staff. We are expanding the CTE Center. We built a new high school. We partnered with the PGA. We have ensured our teachers have the support that they need, and we're continuing to make sure that they get support that they need. I would like for us to enhance our public communication. We have started that process through our community-based accountability system and our community input nights. We're doing pretty good. We need to recognize the good. Even though we know that there are areas of improvement, we need to recognize the good as well. We're not the best school district in the state of Texas for no reason. Our teachers are amazing. Frisco's great. With that being said, I hope that everybody does well. I wish everybody well. And I want to thank my family for being here, and I want to thank the other board members that are here, and the teachers and our former leaders of Frisco.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for all 3 candidates. Place 2 for Frisco ISD Board of Trustees. Thank you guys for being willing to step up. We are now going to take a quick break, and we're going to bring up our place 3 candidates. Thank you guys so much. Good luck. As I said before, hopefully no tie votes, okay? That's all. May the best candidate win. No tie votes.